All right, welcome to another week of Talk of the Town. I'm Jake Fuller with my co-host Ed Brady, the big dog. And boy, over the weekend, first of all, there was an editorial in the Gainesville Sun by Ron Cunningham. Boy, he didn't just kick a hornet's nest. He just jumped all over it because he got a lot of responses to the point where over the weekend he had to put a whole list of letters going back at him. He was basically saying that Nathan Scott, when he wrote Standard & Poor's and complained about the AA rating and how the GRU is being deceitful, he in this editorial he accused Scott of playing politics and taking an issue and turning it political. And my first reaction was, how in the world could he accuse somebody who's not even in city government of using GRU as a political tool when that's all the city commission has done for years and continue to do. And so he stirred up a hornet's nest. Then comes out an article about a flyer put out by the Scott campaign, and on one side of it, it has the return address of GRU, the whole logo and everything. And it says something to the effect of notice, rate increases going up for customers, something like that. So it looked like on one side it kind of looked like it was a official from GRU, official flyer from GRU, although it did say on that flyer paid political advertisements by Nathan Scott. And so that's a big stink. Of course, Lauren Poe and the mayor were just outraged. This deceitful. Well, it turns out they weren't the only ones being deceitful, because the original flyer was sent to the Gainesville Sun by Thomas Hawkins.
His name was obviously on the flyer.
It was on the flyer to the Hawkins family. So it was sent to Hawkins, but it was photoshopped out when it was put into the paper, which is deceitful in itself. And I really think is unethical, because they didn't acknowledge where the flyer came from, and which would have been easy to do, but then it would have made it look like they were doing a hit piece for Lauren Poe, which actually that's really what it was.
Right. So, citizens all the time, I'm sure, contact the newsroom to tell them what they think is an important story or another. But it carries significant weight when one of those persons is an elected official, and this is about a race or a seat for the same board or the same commission that such person
an elected
sits
official
on.
Who's already publicly announced that he's supporting Lauren
Right.
Poe. And so it would have been easy for them to say, we received this flyer, we were tipped off by Thomas Hawkins, a supporter of Lauren Poe. But they chose to they could have taken out the Hawkins address, but left it, the
Right.
address where it
So
said
that's
to the
going
Hawkins
to him
family.
and put in there flyer received by city
Absolutely.
commissioner.
So they do a story on the Scott campaign being deceitful, and to do that, they're deceitful to their readers,
Right.
which is very ironic.
And of course, one of the things that the decision to run the story. I mean, there's always post-election follow-ups where, the Gainesville Sun can say something's going on, or we want to take a closer look at this, but you very rarely do that right before an election. And in fact, we have someone on the phone right now we want to talk to, Doris, and she has an incident that I think bears testimony to this shady practice by the Sun. Doris, are you with us?
I'm with you.
Oh, thanks so much for joining us. Well, we were talking about a number of different things that have come up over the weekend regarding the runoff election on Tuesday, but the one in particular deals with the decision by the Gainesville Sun just a few days before the election to run a critical piece of the Scott campaign based on a flyer or a mailer that his campaign sent out.
Right.
What can you relate to our audience about a similar experience?
Well, actually, in the District 1 race, about 3 days before the actual election date, there was a controversial flyer, mailer that came out from the Henson Rawls campaign, which had her opponent's picture on it without permission, had Ron Paul's picture as well as the former Governor Charlie Crist's picture, all without permission. And it had some derogatory statements, and it was all to discredit her opponent. And I thought it was very controversial and very under the table. I don't appreciate that type of politics. So I called the Gainesville Sun, and Sean McCrory, assistant manager at Gainesville Sun News at that time, or I guess he still
Jake's
is.
giving a knowing shake of the head right there.
Yeah, know him well. Yeah, go ahead.
And so I said, look, I've got this flyer here. It is really not something that I support, and there was no permission for it. I want you to run an article about this type of, politics. And he said to me, he said, it's 3 days before the election, ma'am, and we don't get involved. We would not run something to just try to discredit that mailer, because the Gainesville Sun would not get involved 3 days prior to an election.
Did he give you a cutoff time, like 3 days, maybe like 5 days before the election? They don't do that? I mean, or is it just an arbitrary 3 days before the election?
Those were some comments to me. I can't quote him or paraphrase him. It's been a few weeks now since it happened. But then when I saw this mailer in the paper, I thought, okay, when did the Gainesville Sun change their policy? Okay,
right.
Has there been some type of policy change that we don't know about, that they didn't tell the public about, or is this all based on friendship or who I'm supporting, or do we change policy, depending on specific people? So I was really upset to see this mailer in the paper after they told me that about one.
Did you try?
I think it's more controversial. Actually, let me comment on this mailer with Scott's mailer.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the mastermind of a genius. Actually, I was not offended by it. I knew immediately that it was a paid political advertisement. I think what the Gainesville Sun has done for him, that they've broadened his horizon and increased his territory. They've given him free publicity with this color mailer. And you know what we usually do? We usually take it and throw it on the kitchen counter and don't really look at it. But now people are picking it up and looking at it. So what they, have put out to be something bad may be something that will come back.
It would still be interesting to find out from Sean McCrory, if the policy had changed suddenly over 3 weeks.
I don't think there is a policy.
Right.
I don't think there is a policy. I think that people choose to do what they want to do when they want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what's significant...
I have left a message for Sean this morning. I've also talked with Ron Cunningham and let him know that he basically influenced my decision on who to vote for. On Saturday, my whole family already went down and voted for Scott, if anybody wants to know that we did that. I was offended by his editorial. He's an exceptional writer. He really is, and he has been in this town for many, many years. I still respect him. It's his opinion, so we can agree to disagree. But I was not happy with it, and I let him know that this morning. And so we left on a good note, but... he respects my opinion. I respect his. Yeah,
I have some stories that I could relate to you, but I probably shouldn't about the Gainesville Sun. And back when I was doing cartoons there, and when the mayor's race back with Pegeen Hanrahan, and how we did a cartoon on and a hit piece, basically an editorial on her opponent and C.B. Daniel, and it hit the fan because. We didn't want to ruin his chances for, getting elected. So,
right.
So it was, it's all subjective when it comes to the newspaper. But I really do think the fact that they have photoshopped out and not disclosed where they got this flyer, I think that was real damaging to their credibility.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that may be true. I don't think that the readers really are going to... I'm glad you're showing that point and you're talking about that point. I don't really think that's going to be a big issue. I think more or less what has happened here with this beautiful, beautiful color picture of this mailer, I think that it's going to bring more people in to actually look at the mailer and take notice and then make a decision from there.
Yeah, had a reverse effect. All right, listen.
And one last thing I want to say, no disrespect to Lauren Poe. He's an awesome human being. I'm sorry that he's tied up with a group of folks that are absolutely ruthless. I'm about one sneeze away from changing parties. it's been really a nasty run, and just not very happy about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks for the comment. Thanks for calling in, Doris. And we need to take a quick break, folks. We got a caller on the line. We'll be right back. This is Talk of the Town, only on the Star 99.5.
You better tackle this deal before it gets away from you.
Move your accounts to Florida Credit Union today and take advantage of our totally free checking, free Visa debit card, free first box of checks, free internet banking, free bill payer, free e-statements, free account alerts. Totally free checking from Florida Credit Union. Seriously, no strings attached. We're not the big banks. We're local and not-for-profit. Make the switch today and start saving.
You've got the ball. Isn't it time to run with it?
This is Alachua County Commissioner Susan Baird asking you to join me in supporting Nathan Scott for Gainesville City Commission on February 28th. I've endorsed Nathan because he is fiscally responsible and his utility experience will allow him to manage GRU to minimize our utility rate increases. As your Florida Public Service Commissioner, Nathan Scott denied the largest unjustified utility rate increase in Florida's history. He was endorsed by every major newspaper as a watchdog for the people. It is critical to have your voice heard in this important runoff election. Please vote Nathan Scott for Gainesville City Commission on Tuesday, February 28th.
Vote Scott on February 28th.
Hi, this is Nathan Scott. I'd be honored to serve you as your next Gainesville City Commissioner. As your next City Commissioner, I will lead the fight to reduce your taxes and utility bills. Please support me with your vote on February 28th to stop the wasteful spending and return fiscal responsibility and open government to City Hall.
Political advertisement paid for and approved by Nathan A. Scott for Gainesville City Commission at Large 1.
Thinking of alternative investments? Now's the time to think about buying gold and silver, precious metals, as a hedge against inflation. With the dollar and the euro so unstable, investors worldwide have turned to precious metals. If you're ready to get started, stop in and see Ann or Vince at Coin and Jewelry Gallery Millhopper. You can trade in your old gold for something new or toward bullion investments. Coin and Jewelry Gallery on Northwest 43rd Street next to Beef O'Brady's in the Millhopper Shopping Center. Or call 378-3983 to get started today.
Call Jake and Ed now. 372-3995. That's 372-3995.
All right, we're back on Talk of the Town. Let's take Armando on line 2. Thanks for waiting, Armando.
How are y'all doing, fellas?
Just fine.
Well, I mean, Doris was talking about the political opponent that received that mailer, and I had the luxury of being that very person who received the wrath. I mean, I sort of somewhat can feel for what Mr. Scott is going through. However, he's feeling the very brunt of what I felt the entire election. Out of 11 candidates, I had the luxury of being the only person to receive the level of scrutiny that he is now receiving. So I can understand and relate to what Nathan is going through. Now, Doris says she's one sneeze away from changing the party. The unfortunate thing is it's kind of like you're damned if you do or damned if you don't, because you can sneeze and have influenza, but there's really not a real alternative, unfortunately, to go to, because it's kind of like getting cancer or AIDS. They're both bad. And it's unfortunate because, you know, this DEC and this level of machine, to include Evelyn Fox, they are just the worst of the worst. They're rotten. They're nasty.
Well, she could always register independent. You know.
Yeah, that's probably, you know. And she says she's one sneeze away. I think all of us in East Gainesville have the flu when it comes to this level of crud that we're
and the difference between you and Scott is you were in the same party, and they went after you. And it was funny how.
Well,
you were the only.
You would have asked them. Let me remind you. Let me correct you. No, you would have asked them. I was a Republican. I was the big bad conservative. What it was is that I was a conservative.
But wasn't it interesting how you, in one race, one of two races, you had like three, allegedly they could be called hit pieces done in the Gainesville Sun on you. You know, it was very interesting that nobody else had an article written on them except you.
Chad Smith is might as well be in the payroll for the DEC. I mean, this guy has no. Well,
make no mistake about this. He cannot get anything in the paper without it going through the managing editor, who is
Sean McCrory.
No, he's not the managing editor. It's Jackie Levine, and she's a huge liberal. So it goes. They have morning budget meetings. They discuss what they're going to do. They go out and write the stories. Each reporter tells them what leads they have, and say, okay, let's go with that one. So it's not just him. Independently putting in articles in the paper. Goes through the managing.
Let me also say something. I did vote the other day, and I'm glad. I encourage everybody to vote. It's important for them to vote. Most folks could say that, they could make it being, being angry. No, but I have always voted. But it takes a lot for anyone to offer themselves up for political office. And folks may not like a person or what they stand for, but one thing I can say is I did run with honor, and to have my military service attacked the way it was by people the way it was to have
by a sitting commissioner.
By the mayor of Gainesville attacking you more than one occasion, to have the racial overtones. These are a bunch of racist, bigoted people, and they are calling themselves progressives. They are ignorant bigots, and they are what they are. And this isn't anger. This is what it is. But the people of East Gainesville they can't get off the plantations. They have a slave mentality, and they're going to continue to do so until they just get tired of it. But not many of us have that slave mentality. We just do not.
All right. Well, listen, we appreciate the comments, and thanks for calling. We've got Debbie with us on line 1. Go ahead, Debbie.
Hey, you guys. Well, this is just full disclosure. I'm a lifelong Democrat that dropped my party and became independent because I'm sick of the Pekin Hanrahans, Lowe's, and Botchers of Gainesville. And even when I was a Democrat, Ed Brady can tell you, I worked on his campaign. I worked on Tony Dominich's campaign. So, this is a bipartisan race, and I'm telling you, this biomass has brought more Democrats out working on Nathan Scott's campaign. And as you know, I have spent months working on Nathan's campaign. I spent most of the day in the rain outside campaigning for Nathan Scott yesterday. And the only thing I'm upset about this mailer, the one that says public notice, I'm upset that I didn't get one.
Yeah, I didn't get one either. So,
but
then again, putting it in the paper certainly did have the reverse effect because a lot of people saw it now.
That's right. That's right. And it resonates with the voters because it tells the truth. I've been at GRU for the last 3 months trying to educate the people of East Gainesville. But for some reason, they have this fear of God in them that they've got to do what Evelyn Fox is telling them to do.
Well, maybe Evelyn Fox will pay their utility bills when they go up. So, listen, Debbie, we appreciate it.
I know you guys are always generous with letting me speak, but vote for Nathan. I'll be out there again in the rain all day today, and I think he's going to win. And it's up to all of us to make sure he wins. And you guys are the best. Thank you for everything.
That's what it takes. It takes people to committed like that, and people to go vote. Yeah. I want to say one more quick comment about the caller in the first segment, Doris, because again, I want to just stress the point that 3 days before the election, when she signaled or cried foul on a flyer, notice that the Sean McCrory guy, he didn't say, nah, I just disagree, it's a legit thing and, it's not newsworthy. He said, we don't want to interfere in the race. I mean, that was the reason. Yeah. And now they've gone and done it.
Yeah, well, I guess there is no official policy. Our call-in line is 372-3995. Well, let's speak to the guy who was responsible for putting the flyer out. Apparently he's a genius, according to one of our callers. We've got Alex Patton with us on line 2. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. First of all, Doris Edwards is an incredibly smart woman, and Debbie is
because she called you a genius, right?
Exactly.
Well, so why don't you explain to us how this whole thing?
Yeah, it's chain of events.
How you unearthed the fact that it was sent by the Hawkins family?
It was actually quite easy because the reporter sent it to us when they were asking for comment. So the reporter called the campaign and said, we're going to write this story on this awful mail piece that the campaign sent out. How dare you? And we said, well, which mail piece are you speaking of? And so
we got a lot of awful ones.
Yeah, could you be specific? Yeah.
Exactly. So he emailed the pictures to us. So we made our comment, and our comment was basically like, for example, if the readers or the GRU is upset now, just wait until the actual rate increases kick in.
Yeah.
Well, we wake up in the morning, and in the paper and online, the photo's been doctored. And that just, to me, breaks every ethical breach that I can imagine in journalism.
And then in parentheses it said submitted photo, but it didn't say who submitted it.
Yeah.
And it didn't say altered in Photoshop.
No. And I do think that, if Ed or a private citizen sent this in, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But a sitting city commissioner did this.
Who has endorsed one of the candidates. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that is absolutely material to the story. And for them to leave that out, in my opinion, is absolutely outrageous behavior, especially when you put it in context following the hit piece that Ron Cunningham took out on Nathan Scott.
Yeah, now isn't it interesting, though, I commented earlier that here they write this hit piece on how deceitful this flyer is, yet they're deceitful with the photograph. You know, so it's kind of an ironic.
Well, and what I still haven't figured out what's deceitful. Is there any fact or is there any statement alleged in the flyer that is demonstrably false? I don't think there is. I mean, everything is said is. I mean, even Thomas Hawkins, when he was a candidate, he came on the show and he hemmed and hawed about rate increases, but ultimately said, yeah, probably some, but it'll be offset by this. But the point is, even the most ardent supporters now acknowledge there's going to be a significant rate increase.
Right.
Well, they were upset because it in their eyes, it made the flyer look like it came from GRU. No. Now, is anybody with a reasonable amount of intelligence who gets a flyer like that, are they going to look at it and go, wow, GRU supporting Nathan Scott?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. That's ridiculous. They're trying to make it a mountain out of a molehill, and
and in context, I have never seen a newspaper come out so opposed to one candidate in my lifetime. And it is just, it's an amazing turn of events that's happened in the last 3, 4, 5 days with the newspaper. And most of the genesis can be traced back to the current current city commissioners that are endorsing the opponent.
Yeah.
And I think it shows the level of fear that they have of Nathan Scott. I think it shows what levels they will stoop to.
And it shows a level of
that commission.
And it shows a level of comfort and closeness that the reporters and everybody at the Gainesville Sun has with this city commission and the power structure over there. I mean, they socialize with some of them. So
it's funny, Alex. You mentioned that about the paper taking such a strong position against someone. You and I, we've known each other in a long time, going back to when the Gainesville Sun endorsed candidates. Mm-hmm. They always endorsed, back when they did this, they never attacked the others, really. I mean, I've had some pithy things said about me during re-election time or whatever, but they never just went after the person they're not supporting. They would just build up the one they are. But here, you're right. I mean, they are just all after Nathan Scott.
Yeah, which is why we need him on the commission. So go vote Nathan.
I agree.
And plus, let me say one last thing, Alex. It's interesting, too, because I was never I had one example where I did a cartoon on C.B. Daniel, and the publisher got very upset because we were we might influence people not to vote for him. And so I always stayed away from doing cartoons about candidates because then you're taking sides, and I just didn't want to do that. But now I guess all bets are off over there. So
I mean, again, I've never seen anything like it, and I think after the election, I do think that people at the newspaper and people in the press are really going to have to sit down and go through the chronological order of things and really consider, did we get too carried away in our coverage? Because I think the evidence is there that they've just gone too far.
They won't do that.
Right.
Anyway, thanks for the call. We appreciate it. We got to take a break. We'll ask our caller to hang on through the break, and we'll be right back on Talk of the Town.
The doctors at Eye Surgery Center understand that you've worked hard to get where you are today, and the last thing you need is decreased vision. The doctors apply state-of-the-art technique and technology to give their patients the best options for eye care and cataract treatment, including the multifocal Restore lens for both distance and near vision. So if you've been told that you have cataracts or you're just not happy with your vision, call Eye Surgery Center at 352-377-7733. That's Eye Surgery Center, 377-7733.
When my parents got divorced, I was in a position where I felt like I had to be there for my mother. She had a daughter going to college. She was trying to get her degree herself, work, and keep her family from falling apart.
Ben didn't know how to get the money he needed for college. And then he found out about federal student aid and the FAFSA.
I can actually remember walking into the kitchen and my mom is there and she's got the letter in front of her. And I read through it and hear I've got my federal student aid award. I'm going to go to school.
Federal student aid made college and Ben's dreams possible.
I think you can dream big and you can think about what you want to do with your life, but eventually you're going to have to, build that bridge to the next step.
Need help planning and paying for college? Federal student aid has more than $150 billion to help you go to college. Learn more at college.gov.
My name is Ben, and this is my story.
Domino's, the pizza partner of the Florida Gators, is proud to introduce our new artisan pizzas. Handmade from thinly stretched dough and perfectly topped to showcase our fresh ingredients. Choose from 3 delicious varieties: spinach and feta, Italian sausage and pepper trio, and Tuscan salami and roasted veggie. Just $7.99 each. Call or order online at GatorDomino's.com. Domino's, the pizza partner of the Florida Gators.
Call Jake and Ed now. 372-3995. That's 372-3995.
The Precious Metals Report is presented by Coin and Jewelry Gallery at 2007 Northwest 43rd Street in the Millhopper Shopping Center. Current market conditions for gold is $1,775.10 per ounce. Silver is selling for $35.64 per ounce. And platinum commands $1,713 per ounce. That's the Precious Metal Report presented by Coin and Jewelry Gallery. I got it right. Didn't stumble at all.
We're so proud of you. Let's take Charles on line 1. Go ahead, Charles.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I was calling because I'm the former president of the Alachua County Democratic Black Caucus, 2 times running. And I tried to get in last week to express some points that a lot of callers have already expressed, like Doris Edwards and Armando. But let me say this. We had a forum last Wednesday. It was a Q&A for Lauren Poe and Nathan Scott. We notified John Reiskin. I did personally by email 3 times. Notified Lauren Poe, and I notified Mr. Scott. Now, we had it at the library right across the street from where they were having another forum for the 2 candidates. Nathan Scott showed up to ours right across the street at 7 o'clock. Lauren Poe, who called me the Sunday prior to the Wednesday, said that he had to go to participate in Ash Wednesday, and he couldn't do it. Now, Nathan is also Catholic, and he changed his time to go to church that Wednesday to make sure he made it. But that's not the point. That's just the setup for what I'm going to tell you. Now, we've been attacked as the Black Caucus in Alachua County by John Reiskin, Evelyn Fox, and other people behind the scenes who have sent nasty emails and things to this site. And first they tried to tag it to me, saying that, we had a meeting at the DEC office and was trying to endorse Nathan Scott. Now, the Black Caucus can't endorse anybody, not even a Democrat, okay? But what we were doing that night was basically comparing the platforms between Lauren Poe and Nathan Scott, and which one suited African Americans more than the other. And Nathan Scott's platform and the way he performed in our debate in the primary clearly said that he was in favor of improving conditions for African Americans and people living on the east side. Now, after that, we had an emergency meeting called by John Reiskin, chair of the DEC, Evelyn Fox, and a campaign person for Lauren Poe. They jumped on us, threatened to file a complaint because of the Democratic loyalty oath, which last time I checked, this was a nonpartisan race. Right. And individuals could vote and support who they wanted to, okay? And so the president of the Black Caucus, Mr. Erman Owens, told him, you go ahead and sue, or go ahead and file a complaint. And I told him too, but I'm not going to let it end there I know it's coming back confounded, but let's deal with this, gentlemen. Ms. Botcher, a sitting city commissioner, tweeted that night that we were having a fake forum, okay? And so did a gentleman who works for Lauren Poe's campaign, and his name is Eric Conrad, and she said that Nathan chose to go to a fake stunt the so-called Black Caucus had organized at the last minute, and not to come to the one that I guess she approved of. I want to make this clear. The DEC, Susan Botcher, Evelyn Fox, none of these people do not speak for the Black Caucus. They don't hold an office. They don't tell us what to do. And as Armando said, they know how I deal with it. We're not on that plantation where they can support white candidates and make sure that everybody's on board. But when Bonnie Burgess ran for school board, District 23, the DEC was nowhere to be found. Susan Botcher was nowhere to be found. John Reiskin was nowhere to be found, and neither was Evelyn Fox. We have been meeting with the DEC for over 2 years behind the scenes, the 4As and the Black Caucus, trying to find a solution for all of these basic racial problems that exist within the three organizations. We don't have the problem. They do, okay? And I'm saying what Doris Edwards said this morning solidifies, exactly what is going on in the Democratic Party locally. There's nothing wrong with the Democratic Party, but these people who have been elected, these people who think they tell us what to do, I want to make it clear to them. I want to make it crystal. They don't tell the black community what to do. They don't tell the Black Caucus what to do, and they never will. Okay.
Well, that's the problem. They don't have control. They don't like independent thinkers. They want people to be in lockstep and just do what they're told. And they're going to come down heavy on you if you don't.
How demeaning for Susan Botcher to tell the Black Caucus they're having a fake forum. I mean, gosh, how insulting is that?
But we had heard about the forum, and we heard that there would be no endorsement, that you were simply scoring the candidates.
Exactly.
And so, and it was a legitimate, I mean, obviously the Gainesville Sun knew about it also.
Yeah, the Gainesville Sun knew about it, and I'm telling you, we notified the Alligator and some other folks. And I'm telling you that these people who have no guts, I mean, no integrity, they won't tell you to your face about things. They have a network that is underground, a network that hurts other African-American candidates and elected officials who are Democrats. They've had this for quite a while. We, as a Black Caucus, are sick of it. And we are no longer going to associate ourselves with the DEC because we can do what we need to do without them. See, we're not under their umbrella. We're under the umbrella of the Florida Democratic Party. We have the same power, the same authority as the DEC. And they better understand that. And I mean, I was so upset last week when I couldn't get through to express this to you. All right? And I'm saying the way they are picking candidates for us to run against Barbara Shaw, to run against Clovis Watson Jr., and to do a whole lot of other things. Run against Bonnie Burgess when she ran. I'm telling you, the day for that is over. See,
and look at Armando. I mean, he didn't. Right. They attacked one of their own. They were cannibalizing their own candidates. See, right. They should have been nonpartisan in that whole race because we had 3 Democrats running in District 1.
Exactly. But see, Armando was a target for them long before he applied for candidacy for District 1. Okay, yeah. and it was because of superficial reasons, unrealistic reasons. And just playing out, they can't control Armando. See, any African American that they can't control and turn them into an automaton and tell you what to do and how to do it and how long to do it, then they can't use you. You become the troublemaker.
Well, obviously,
you have a forum here. We're glad you got through today to tell us all this, tell our listeners that. So we hope you call back, too.
Yeah, we appreciate it, Charles. And obviously, they've got a guest from last week, Dijon Kane, in their crosshairs also. He's not...
Step out of line.
Not telling the line.
Viciously. I hope Charles reads my guest column in the Gainesville Sun about another feint for East Gainesville, the promise of BRT, and how it's just going to totally ignore them. It's unbelievable. We'll talk about that after the election. We got more. More press.
Let's take Tom on line 2. Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, guys, great show. I want to tell you what. That guy's name was Charles. Charles, man, you're a breath of fresh air, man. I'm glad to hear that right there, because the problem with East Gainesville, you had the wrong people telling y'all what to do. And I'm glad to see that you're saying people do their own thinking now, because I still can't figure out how Henson Rawls got elected. Well, I do kind of figure that out. But I tell you what, man, you and Armando, he's right. You guys are right. But Charles, you spoke it the way it's supposed to be, brother. You told it like it is. And that's so refreshing right now. Another quick thing, too, about Poe. I heard from an earlier show, I didn't know he was teaching economics That's a scary thing to know about that right there. I mean, I don't know what kind of economics he's teaching right there, because I wouldn't trust my kids to take economics from him, and I would not trust him to be involved with any money giving to biomass. So that tells you, I don't know what he's doing. But Charles, man, I'm glad to hear that kind of talk. Call back more often. Great show, guys.
All right, thanks. We appreciate it.
You're discussing Lauren as a candidate for office. By all reputation, he's a very good professor of what he teaches, so I wouldn't say anything there. But on policy wise, he's fair game, and that's the issue that's before the voters, is the policy issues facing Gainesville, not just biomass, but on a whole host of issues. And the thing about Lauren Poe is he has a record. He was already a commissioner, and so a lot of the things that is costing us lots of money.
Well,
come from his vote.
If he's teaching economics, maybe after the election, he can teach people in East Gainesville how to balance their checkbooks when it comes time to pay their utility bills, because it's going to, people are
economics is the field that I think originated the pithy comment about if you put any two economists in a room, you'll get three opinions. Yeah, there's the Paul Krugman economics and Thomas Sowell economics. Now, I'm on the Thomas Sowell side of the spectrum, but
and the Walter Williams also.
And Walter Williams, absolutely. But and it's the economic. I mean, really, and I use this phrase a lot when I go and do give speeches to other communities, that policy is about costs and benefits, which ultimately means it's an economic question. Whether it's a social issue, financial issue, public safety issue, or whatever, you still have to weigh the costs and the benefits. Now, hopefully, if the benefits outweigh the costs, you do the program. And if the costs outweigh the benefits, then you don't. But unfortunately, a lot of elected officials just don't try to weigh that. They don't. They get tied up in what they think are the wonderful, rosy benefits, and they're just going to do it,
Well, let me just ask these questions, and nobody has answered them. In East Gainesville and all over the city, there's an unemployment problem, especially in East Gainesville. Now, they have to have utilities also. And we have a city commission that is supposed to represent all of Gainesville, and including East Gainesville. So what are they're doing? They're actually going to increase our utility bills when it wasn't even necessary.
Yeah.
And my other question is, maybe you can answer this because you were a former city commissioner, but GRU is supposed to be a nonprofit kind of thing, yet they contribute $30 million to the city. They're making a $30 million profit and giving it to the city. So it's basically a money-making machine.
Right.
So how can it be nonprofit?
The logic of that was that if instead of a publicly owned utility, we had a private investor utility, that would be the approximate property taxes they would pay each year. The problem is elected officials started getting that transfer and saw that, hey, that's a way we can pretty much do whatever we want, and then we don't have to hike taxes every quarter to do it because we got this cash flow coming in. So they started treating it like it's like their piggy bank. But I'll tell you again, this is something we've used on a show long ago. It unfortunately has no bearing on this election, but it matters. The key phrase is rate impact measurement. Before, under the tutelage of Mike Kurtz and under a more conservative city commission, even though most were Democrats, we would adopt programs only if they survived the rate impact measurement test, which is exactly like it sounds. It looks at a program or a policy issue, and it measures how it will impact rates. And if it forces upward movement on the rates, we wouldn't do it. And we still were able to do green, conservation-based things. We just wouldn't do crazy ones, So and they abandoned it.
They threw that out the window.
They got rid of it, and that's why biomass sells. That's why the solar feed-in tariff sells. That's why all of those things sell, because they got rid of the rate impact measurement test and went to an anything goes with 4 votes. And now we're stuck where we're stuck.
We're going to ask our callers to hang on. We got to take our last break, and we'll be right back.
This is Gunnar from Skyfrog Tree Service. This is our second advertisement with 99.5. We're reaching out to the right people. I'm very grateful to be on the Thomas Hayes Morrison Show and a supporter of that program. When we send a representative out to someone that's called in for an estimate, the approach that Robin and John have is as an arborist first to see what we can do for your trees and for the customer. I'm extremely proud of my crew. Skyfrog has a great safety record and we have a lot of repeat business, so that says something about what we're doing. Please call John or Robin at 352-262-3470 or check us out on our webpage, skyfrogtreeservice.com. One of the most important things I tell my guys, and I tell them all the time, is to leave the yard looking like it was your mom's yard, squared away and better than when you got there. I'm a retired Marine officer and I run my business that way. Don't forget our website, skyfrogtreeservice.com. Stay motivated.
Motorcyclists often seem rather intimidating. Rough and tumble, real bad mamma jammers. Little do folks know they can actually be quite sensible, especially if they insure their motorcycle with Geico along with their car. Geico's multi-policy discount could save them quite a bit of money. Did I just say bad mamma jammers? Do you ever say something and think, I wish I'd never said that? This is one of them times.
Call Geico or visit geico.com today to see how much our multi-policy discount could save you.
At Walmart, you can save on prescriptions right where you save on everything else. Want to see for yourself? Take the Walmart Challenge. Switch to the Walmart pharmacy for 1 month and compare prices to your old pharmacy. And ask your local Walmart pharmacist about their huge list of $4 generic prescriptions. Transferring is simple. Just bring in your prescription pill bottle or written prescription, and they'll take care of the rest. So give it a shot. With a healthy dose of low prices, you'll be feeling better in no time. Save money. Live better. Walmart.
If you would like to contact Ed and Jake, you can email them at talk995@gmail.com. That's talk995@gmail.com.
All right, we want to take these callers real quick. We've got Pat on line 1. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, how you guys doing?
Just fine.
I would pose to all the citizens of Gainesville, if you don't like your utility bill and you don't think you're paying your own fair share and you should be paying more, go ahead and vote for Lauren Poe tomorrow.
Yeah, if you like paying
extra. He doesn't think you're paying your fair share either, so he wants to raise your utility bill.
And if you want to pay more, then just take tomorrow off. Don't do anything. Stay home.
Yeah. All right, listen, we appreciate it, Pat. Let's take Kathy on line 2. Go ahead, Kathy.
Hey, I'm wondering what's behind Von Fraser being on every street corner working so hard to get Lauren Poe elected. Does he miss him, or is he really afraid of a second diverse voice on the...
He's the tax man. He wants your tax dollars. So why do you think he's supporting Lauren Poe?
He's out there like every day.
I know. But isn't that a telltale sign? You know, people supporting Nathan, working folks, they have bills to pay. They're trying to make the best they can out of the current economy. They're waving signs. And then on the other side, you have the guy who wants your tax dollars holding up the sign for Lauren Poe.
Yeah, so I guess there, like I said last week, there's still a little bit of blood left in the courts. So they're holding that sign up. They want to bleed us dry completely.
Squeezing the turnip.
Yeah.
Use that
let's take John on line 1. Thanks, thanks, Kathy.
Hey, good afternoon, guys. I tell you, it's a little, it gets my gander when I hear Lauren Poe in the paper talking about deceitfulness on that flyer that Scott put out. That's not deceitful at all. Stating a fact what's really going to happen. What's deceitful is when they make a contract with Crick and they reject all the pertinent information that should be in there when they take out the opt-out clause, but they don't tell you the whole story like Paul Harvey always does. They just tell you half the story, the good part they want to tell you, and they don't tell you the negative part. That's deceitfulness. That's what I tell you. These guys, after the city commission and the DEC, they have got no room to talk.
Yeah. All right. We appreciate the call, John. Yeah. And one other thing that's deceitful is hiring your campaign manager and then getting him into a permanent job without any advertisement. So he was.
Well, there's a myriad of problems there, but now with us in studio is a guy who hopes to be able to address them, and if he does get in there, I'm pretty confident he will be able to address them, and that's Nathan Scop himself. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, the man at the center of the storm.
Hey, you had some pretty exciting news. Made you run a little late. Why don't you share it with our listeners?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The CEO, Chief Executive Officer at Infinite Energy, Mr. Darren Cook, has just endorsed me for City Commission, citing the fact that the cost to the community from the biomass contract is untenable.
Yeah, and he had something important to say earlier also when he mentioned that he did his fiscal analysis of it and said, we're just rolling the dice on this thing.
It's a disaster waiting to happen. Unfortunately, our elected officials at City Hall just are living in a state of denial.
Well, I think they're angry because people even question them, is what's going on. They're very angry because how dare people be concerned with their utility bills?
No, absolutely. They're very angry, too, that we've exposed this issue, and they don't like to be in the limelight. But, again, people have the opportunity to choose tomorrow in a very important, critical election for the future of our city. And this election is about the hardworking people of Gainesville that are struggling to pay their bills and want to have their voice heard. And that's why we need new leadership at City Hall, and that's why I hope people will get out in droves and vote for Nathan Scop. We need to stop the wasteful spending, and we need to bring accountability and transparency back to local government.
And there's really more to this race than the biomass plant. I mean, there are a number of issues that are going to cost the taxpayers a lot of money, and it's really simply there's no stopgap as far as Todd Chase can't stop anything right now because all by himself on the city commission we're talking about bus rapid transit. We're talking about a bunch of issues that are just it's like other people's money, let's spend other people's money.
That's exactly right. They see all these projects that sound good, it'll look great on a flyer, and they don't care about the fiscal realities.
Well, that's why we need to bring fiscal responsibility and open government back to City Hall. And again, my priorities as your next city commissioner are fiscal responsibility, open government, public safety, basically managing GRU to minimize your utility rate increases, protecting our neighborhoods, creating jobs and bringing economic investment to our community, and coppers remediation and other environmental issues. So we have a broad platform, and this election is far bigger than just the biomass issue.
And now let me ask this real quickly, because I'm not trying to read too much into it, but I think it's relevant, and that is, I take a big picture look because I work with the American Dream Coalition. We look at other communities around the country, and folks, there are some local governments that have filed bankruptcy because they spent more than they could bring in. They've had to do that. Most recently, Jefferson County, Alabama. There's some up north. There's some out on the West Coast. Nathan, is it too much to say that unless we start getting a better sense of judgment at City Hall, that we may also find ourselves in that position one day?
Well, that's certainly a possibility. The bottom line is that our elected officials has consistently demonstrated that they're ill-equipped to spend taxpayer money in a fiscally responsible manner. Like you say, they treat it like other people's money, and they keep wanting to spend, and they're not living within our means. And we need to look at critically prioritizing the limited taxpayer resources that we have so we can provide a benefit to all citizens of Gainesville, and they just consistently on a day-to-day basis do not do that. They spend, they incur additional debt. GRU itself has about $1.1 billion in debt, and they're going to have more. So we need to get a hold on what's going on and start managing the city and the community with a fiscally responsible mindset, like good stewards of taxpayer money.
And really, nobody knows this better than you, but if you stand in their way of their plans, they get very personal and very nasty. I mean, they go after you with everything they've got, and I just think that's unprofessional. You get a city commission that is almost kind of in a childlike rant, against people.
Well, no, absolutely, and I think the issue is that they seem to have a truth sensitivity complex. When people start telling the truth, they tend to have temper tantrums, and particularly the mayor. And, at the end of the day, that's why we need change and new leadership at City Hall, and that's why I hope everyone will come out tomorrow and vote for Nathan Scott.
No, and I want to ask you this. We had Alex Patton on who helped design some of your mail pieces and get them out there, but you're the candidate. You're the person under the gun, so I want to ask you, they're claiming that there's something deceitful about the flyer you sent out. I looked at it. I don't think there's any factual misstatement. Is there any statement on there that you feel you'd have to retract because it is just false?
Absolutely not. The truth hurts, and that's what they're scared of. Again, the city admitted that there will be a rate increase from the biomass contract. The mail piece tells citizens about the rate increase. And if GRU customers are upset about their high electric rates now, just wait until their true rate increase kicks in.
And the article doesn't say the rates aren't going to go up. I mean, that's the other thing. They run this article, and you would think at some point they would be compelled, since they chose to run it, to say that, well, we looked at the substance and he's just wrong on the substance. But he's not. The facts are there, and they don't refute them.
Well, let me say this, and I've said this a million times. When it comes to the media, it's not what they put in the paper, it's what they don't put in the paper that's telling. And in this case, taking out Thomas Hawkins as the person who sent it to Chad
Smith,
of the
leaks.
That says it all right there. It's not what they put in the paper, it's what they take out and don't put in the paper. And that said it all right there. It was it really comes across as a hit piece because they didn't give a credible story and acknowledge where the piece came from. So I just think this is more of the same. You've come up against a whirlwind, so welcome to Gainesville politics.
Well, that's where the people have a tremendous opportunity tomorrow to vote with their wallets and to make a very critical difference in the future of Gainesville, how taxpayer money is going to be spent, and to stop this wasteful spending. Again, we need change and new leadership at City Hall, and I would encourage everyone to vote for Nathan Scott tomorrow on February 28th.
Now, in the few minutes we have left, let me ask you something about your position other than the biomass plant. Where everybody wants economic opportunity and growing the business sector, the private business sector. What do you think you could do as a city commissioner to further that?
Well, again, if we have the highest electric rates in the state of Florida, businesses and jobs will go elsewhere. That being said, we need to address that problem, but also create a environment that is conducive to creating business and jobs in our community. And simply the planning document, again, needs to be streamlined in accordance with best practices to reduce the cost and lead time of gaining approval. Any construction we have in the city is put in the tax rolls for the most part, unless you're University of Florida, and that brings much needed revenue to allow the city to continue to fund our parks, the quality of life, all the things that the citizens in our community have come to enjoy. But right now we have a city commission that spends money like it's going out of style, and they have no concept that one of these days you can't continue to borrow because they're living on borrowed time. And sooner or later that debt is going to catch up, and this biomass payment is going to catch up, and it's going to be a perfect storm.
And they've shown that they're more than willing to raise rates to satisfy Standard & Poor's. When it comes to that, that's what they base their rating on, is the fact that they're willing to raise rates, right?
Well, yes, and that report, just briefly in the short time we have left, stated that it shows the willingness of the city commission to raise rates to support increasing debt service levels on increasing debt load. And so the translation in layman's terms, guys, is higher rates, more debt, and no discussion about the looming rate impact of the biomass contract, and that's deceitful in itself.
Well, we're going to have you back on tomorrow.
I hope so.
On Election Day, and we encourage everybody to just find time tomorrow to vote, because it's very important. And we're talking about our money here. This is our wallets that they're going after, and we just can't afford it. This is our one chance to make a difference, and. They treat it like it's their money, and it's not. It's our money, and I get very upset when people start trying to dip into my wallet. So anyway, we appreciate you coming by.
Well, thank you, and I just encourage everyone overnight to look at the website www.voteforscop.com and get out and vote Nathan Scott tomorrow in the city commission election.
Jake, was that last comment directed at your wife?
No, she's the one that gives me money, and so she
can dip into it anytime.
Oh yeah.
All right, folks. Thanks, Nathan, for being here. We'll see you again tomorrow, and certainly we want to keep the fire going here, because it's not just these candidates. It's the way politics are structured here in this community, and kind of the way the quote machine wants it done.
Yeah, we
They're
can't thank our callers enough, especially Charles. I mean, it was very enlightening what's going on out there. So we appreciate you joining us here today on Talk of the Town, and we'll be back tomorrow on the Star 99.5.